Hello, this is Adam Began, and I'm the host of Historically Haunted Show, where I talk about some very rare historical and haunted locations that I visited. I also interview some of the very best in the paranormal and cryptozoology field. So tune in every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Paranormal King Radio Network. And prepare to be educated about the unknown. Hey, historians, welcome back to another great episode of the Historically Haunted Show on the one and only Paranormal King Radio Network. We are live here every Friday night at 8 p.m. Tonight's like no different than any other night. We have a very special guest, just like every other night. We have C.L. Thomas. She's someone I've known for a while. I had her on my podcast with a partner of hers, so to speak, in the field, Brian Bohal. With a Y. I had them on my podcast. I want that from the radio show just to kind of touch base with her one-on-one. Basically, she travels a lot, widely every year as a fine arts photographer. She's also a writer exploring various afterlife research, OBEs, metaphysics, folklore, paranormal events and groups, and just so on and so forth. She's also an author of a novel called Speaking to Shadows. Speaking to Shadows. She's also the host of the Small Town Tales podcast, which I believe I'm going to be on very soon. She also has written many articles. She maintains a blog on legends, folklore, magic, paranormal stories, all that good stuff. Currently, she resides in Las Vegas with her golden retriever that you just heard. And her Maine Coon cat. And of course, I'm from Maine, and Maine Coon cat's very beautiful. So, Crystal, the animal lover, voodoo witch lady from the West Coast. What is up, sister? How are you?
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I had you on the vodcast, which was great. But I think this is a little bit more personal. And I'm not even in a chat room. I totally spaced out on that. Are you in chat, Crystal?
I am in the chat.
Oh, I'm slagging. That's what I get for smoking a joint before the show. All right, so I'll be in chat shortly, guys. Thanks, everybody in chat. If you got questions, hold tight on them. I'm logging in now. I goofed. So let's go right off the bat. Let's. What have you been up to? I mean, obviously you get your shows and stuff, but what's on the agenda? Like, what's like a big thing that's either going to happen very soon or has happened for you recently, as far as paranormal goes?
Oh, I always have stuff going on. So my cohort, my partner in crime, Brian, and I were working on a case together in a little town in California. So we need to go back and reinvestigate. It's a haunted field out in California. And we think it's caused by some Native American spirits. And we have another group who is Native American that he's a shaman. So we're going to ask him to join us to help get him to talk to the family to try to make peace with the land spirits that haunting her land. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. We have some other things planned as well, and I'm going to Romania in November.
Oh, Dracula.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Oh, that's amazing. Is that, I got to ask, is that business, pleasure, both?
Kind of both.
Very
kind
cool.
of both. So I'm interviewing a guy who he's a descendant from Vlad Dracula. So, and he's given tour guides over there and everything else. So it's pretty exciting. I'm going to have him on the podcast and talk to him about vampire lore and kind of where all of that came from. So he's going to give us the history and a little bit of the folklore and why it's such a trend currently.
Wow.
In the modern. It'd be very interesting.
He definitely holds a record for impaling people, I believe. Sticking
Yeah.
those big poles up people's asses and coming out their throats and just leaving them there like ornaments. Yeah, I mean, like I've seen enough stories where I know like him and his brother fought for the royalty of their father, which Dracula means the son. So yeah, I mean, and of course they say like one of the guys said they saw him dipping bread in one of his victims' blood, which kind of started, Bram Stoker heard about it and wrote the whole lore. I don't want to give everything away, but
Mhm.
I very much believe in that stuff. Like you kind of hit the subject a lot of folklore, myth, legend.
Mhm.
That seems like that's something that's big. It's a big part of this for you, right?
Right. It is. But the thing I really want to touch on with this whole trip is the current vampire trends. You got Father Sebastian and the whole group that follows him.
Yeah, New Orleans. Yeah,
And they're really into this vampire. I mean, they even have the teeth and everything. And then you have like psychic vampires, which Michelle Bellinger, if you've heard of her, a great girl that I interviewed on the podcast. She's very well versed in vampire or psychic vampires and things. It's just a really interesting topic.
yeah.
That could
No,
be a
I
whole-
agree. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't hear enough about that. It's always the same boogie demons and seances, Ouija boards, UFOs, all that shit. No one really talks about mermaids, vampires, pixies and shit like that. I really love that. Seriously, so what got you into that? Was it just as a kid in the movies? Have you always been? It's not Twilight, I fucking hope.
No, it was just, I've been watching. I'm a big fan of Patty Negri, and she hangs out with Father Sebastian, who I don't really know a whole lot about, but there's a whole culture centered around him, and these are like very serious, like a vampire culture.
Yeah.
If you know anything about them, it's really interesting.
Yeah. I went to Iowa a couple years back, and I met some people there from the in Des Moines, Iowa, Des Moines Paranormal and shit. And some of them knew Sebastian, and they were going down to a vampire party in New Orleans. Like, you guys should go. And they were kind of describing it to me, and I was like, "Holy fuck, it's kind of off the charts." You got to really, and you can't. If you go there, you got to kind of do it, and if not, they kind of take it as like almost disrespectful. And they're not sleeping upside down, so to speak, but they do have some different trends, man. It's fucking wild. It's pretty wild. Yeah, that's cool. Because where you are, you're all, and of course, Brian, Small Town Adventures, you guys are kind of out the lost towns. As we spoke before, we had a nice little conversation before the show on Facebook there a couple of days ago, talking about getting ready for the show. And you mentioned that you love New England and all that stuff, but you very much love the old Wild West stuff that's kind of out there. So, yeah, that's cool too. So
Yeah,
you're
I
all over
love
the
exploring
place.
those. Yeah, I kind of am. It's like I said, I'm always out there doing something.
Yeah, hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think people like you and me, the certain people that kind of live this every day. I'm looking. Some people watch they binge watch all the new shows, and hey, have you seen the new whatever the fuck? And no, I don't watch that. I binge watch documentaries. I watch Monster Quest. I look for people that hunt the Jersey Devil, and I look for just different things. I watch an Amityville Horror documentary that was great. Talked about how the father of the DeFeos and shit owed money to the mob, and they think the mob might have killed them, and just the Sunday satanic rituals in the basement. So there's a lot of cool shit, as you know, when you go beyond and you go deep, and that's what you're definitely. You're an author, but you're definitely I think you're a researcher, historian too. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's very fair. I think I'm more of a researcher than I am an investigator, to be honest with you. The only reason why I got into investigating is because I've had paranormal experiences since I was like 2.
Wow.
So it's just
wow.
time. But yeah, for me, I'm definitely more of a researcher. And I'm like you, I love documentaries and all of that too. Honestly, I'd rather watch documentaries than a lot of the newer paranormal shows that are out. Not saying that they're not good or anything, but I just get more out of the documentaries than I do the current shows.
I concur, because documentaries are tried and true. a lot of them are, if you look at them, like maybe honestly for me 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, this is fucking boring. But when I watch it now and I get lost in an Ed Gein documentary, or I get lost in fucking a chameleon killer, or UFO abductee, what's his name there, Travis Walton, you start getting into it, and then it's like, man, with so much fake shit and these reality shows and just garbage television, you're filling your brain with this shit. And not that life's a big prize to know the most knowledge, but if I'm gonna be here, man, I want to fucking know these oddities. I want to find out the things that are around us. And anyway, that's cool, because documentaries are where it's at. Like, even if they're like bike gangs or prison documentaries, it's kind of neat to know the truth of shit we don't know that goes on in real life. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Shout out to Carlos Nunez in chat, Melissa Keene, Witch and Heather Kiminiti, my girl, George Cannon, of course, the King, Charles Fulton is always in chat. We had a couple more in there earlier, but they dropped out, which is fine. So I gotta go back, CL. I gotta talk about your experience at the age of 2 years old, the tender age. Do you mind talking about that? I'm definitely curious.
No, not at all. So, oh man, where do I even start with that? My earliest actually is of a apparition in my room.
Wow.
I was 2 years old. I had what we thought was pretend friends at first. But when my mother started asking me questions, it was an older man who I called Santa Claus, because I don't know why. It was like around Christmas, and he was an older man. He was kind of heavy set. He had white hair, the whole deal. So that's what I called him. And he was around for probably the first 2 years of my life, off and on. He would just show up in the room, and I'd see him at nighttime. It was almost as if he was like a guardian of some sort. So years later, my mom, to back up a little bit, when I was about 5 or 6, I can't remember the exact age, my grandmother had passed away, and I ran downstairs before I even knew about it, or before anyone told me about it, and my dad was sitting in a chair in the kitchen, and I said, "Oh, Grandma just said that she's doing fine. She went with Papa." That was my grandfather, who I've never met. He died 2 years before I was even born. But I said something to the effect that, she said not to worry about her. She wanted to go home to be with Papa. And my dad kind of looked at me like I was crazy and said I didn't know what I was talking about, go back to bed, whatever. It's real early in the morning. And he gets a phone call probably about 20 minutes later, and it was his sister telling him that his mom had passed.
Oh.
And then there was another incident where my great-grandma, who I've never met before, I think I was like 6 or 7, it was right shortly after, in that same time period. It was like within that time frame. She showed up in my room. I was home I think I was in kindergarten. I was home playing with little Matchbox cars. I used to love those as a kid.
Hell yeah.
I looked up, and there she was. She was at the end of my bed. It was this older woman. She had those horn-frame glasses, and she had on this apron, very colorful patchwork apron, and that's what set it off. And I ran downstairs to ask my mom, where did the lady go? Because I wanted to show her my toys. And my mom, she was kind of, I don't know, she was having a bad day or something, but she was like, "Oh, no, there's no lady here." And I started to argue with her. I started to cry. "Yes, there is." And, we kind of went back and forth. And then my mom sent me back to my room and didn't want to talk about it anymore. Later on that evening, she pulled out a picture, and she showed it to me, and she goes, "Is this the lady you saw?" And it was exactly that lady.
Wow.
It was my great-grandmother. But then she started asking questions, because it kept happening like that. And she ended up tracing the guy that I used to see when I was real young. It ended up being a guy that lived a few doors down who had passed away. He was an older gentleman that just, he passed away. She thinks it might have been him coming to check on me. And it just went on like that for many years.
Wow.
So, and then like,
Almost like a guardian, not a guardian, but just, I mean, wow.
what's interesting is that usually when you hear these kind of stories, people who have similar experiences, they always say that they were terrified as a kid. They felt haunted their whole life. That wasn't the case for me. I had no reason to be afraid. It wasn't until, I went off to college and kind of forgot about the paranormal for a while because I was so focused and career oriented. I was going to school. I was in medical school and trying to finish and, stuff like that, trying to figure out where I fit in life. And it wasn't until after college, I was living in Nashville, Tennessee, and my roommate at the time and I, we were living in a haunted apartment.
Yeah.
And that's what brought me back again. But,
wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's something that's always kind of been there and followed you. Do you have anything in your family, anybody in your family like psychic or anything like that you know of in your like relatives?
So my mother says that her mom was like that.
No shit.
So, yeah. And
Wow.
I kind of grew up with very interesting dynamics because my mom's side of the family was Jewish and my dad's side of the family was Catholic. So there was always like
Oh, that's awkward at
Yeah.
the holiday time. You get all of Hanukkah plus Christmas. That's fucking dope. You get like an extra. Wow, you get like a week and a half.
Yeah, it's but my mom's side of the family, they didn't like that. She married a Catholic and they kind of
Yeah.
disowned her.
No
I guess.
way. The fucking old school ways, man. If you were Italian and you married a Catholic or an Irishman, I mean, it's the same way in Maine because there's a lot of Frenchmen in Maine. And if they married a Russian or a black person or anything, it's, oh, he's not French. He's not. It's so fucking old school with that thinking. It's so silly. But yeah, that's tough growing up. So of course, you seeing all these things, you got to kind of keep your mouth shut because they think you're the freak of the family, being the Jewish
Yeah.
Catholic baby. You know what I mean? They don't know what to think.
It's interesting. I never really talked about it for years because of that reason. So, especially when I lived in Nashville, because it's such a small community. I did a lot of stuff with like country music and just different media stuff that you have to be careful what you say,
Yeah.
So,
No, that's
I don't
true.
know.
I had a question real back a little bit ago. I'm trying to get to it. Where the people keep talking, so it bumps it down. Oh, it's Melissa Keene. She wants to know: are you an author of fiction or nonfiction?
Well, it's both. So, Speaking of Shadows, it's based on true story. What it is it's fiction, but it's a historical fiction. So a lot of the historical stuff that's in it and a lot of the voodoo, I've done a lot of research on voodoo to portray it accurately. And the actual storyline is a combination of 3 different legends from the Bayous area just outside of New Orleans. There's a place called River, I think it's River Road, and there's a bunch of plantations, just like Oak Valley. There's several different ones that line that entire area. And each one has a really interesting backstory and legend that's associated with the property and why the property's haunted. So, for instance, Oak Valley, they think the land was cursed because of because of the slavery that happened there and some of the stuff that was happening with slaves.
Wow.
Combined all 3. There's one story that I heard, and it's a voodoo lady who used to tell the town, her name was, I think, Miss Brown is what her name was, and she used to tell everybody that when she died, she was going to take the whole town with her. And the main character in the book, the voodoo priestess in the book, is actually based on this character. When she passed away, that same week, there was a hurricane that came through, and it actually did take the entire town. And the only surviving thing is like a couple of gravestones in the middle of literally a swamp.
Wow.
So,
yeah. There's a lot of energy there, though. With all that water and shit, swamps hold a lot of energy. People don't realize.
But the other thing is too is I'm about to release another book called Dancing with Demons, and that's more of my story. I had a negative attachment. When I lived in a haunted house in Nashville, that kind of changed things. And that was the first time I was ever fearful of the paranormal. And the stuff that happened to me when I lived there, that's what this book is about.
Wow. I visited Nashville for a couple of days back in the day, went to Tennessee and got to go see Tootie's and the Johnny Cash Museum and fucking Ernie Tubbs record store. What part of Nashville were you at?
I was right downtown.
Oh, no way. Yes, that's where I went. I went for a walk and I get to see the country music television and like the rock and roll hard rock museum. It was only for a quick minute.
Mm-hmm.
But we went by all the places where Dolly Parton went and Johnny Cash. So that whole downtown is full of like, what is it? Printer's Alley is where all the people used to sneak in rum and shit during Prohibition. There's a lot. Oh yeah, I know about
Printer's Alley.
Oh
yeah, don't even know.
Printer's Alley. I went there once, and that stuck with me. Dude, when I used to go as a kid, when all the kids wanted to go to the Ferris wheel or go to the beach, I wanted to go to the historical museum societies and shit. I love learning. I love figuring out what the fuck is where, what we learn from. Even if it's bad, it's good to know our past, I think, because that's how we learn. And it's interesting to me, good and bad. And yeah, they used to sneak them in Printer's Alley to put it in the the printers and stuff. The alcohol went in the printers, and people would sneak it and use it to the Prohibition speakeasies and shit, and they're still there. And oh yeah, Nashville's dope. What a fucking great city. Hottest chicken I ever had. That's cool.
Oh yeah, I miss it. I really miss it. I lived there 15 years. I had 2 houses there.
Wow.
I really miss it. I hit by that tornado a couple years ago.
Was that one of your houses that was haunted? Is that what it was? Was that the house that was haunted? Was one of yours that you own, or was it?
No. No. So we ended up moving out. So it's a long story. It could take up an entire show to actually talk about the things that happened in that house. But long story short, I ended up getting stage 2 cancer, and I know it's kind of far-fetched to say, but I believe in my heart that I got sick from this entity that was attached to me. It was that severe.
Wow.
So the girl I was living with, she's still my best friend. She lives here in Vegas actually now. It's funny, all the Nashvilleian people are moving to Las Vegas. But anyway, when I was diagnosed, I ended up having to go through chemo and radiation and the whole deal. And the house we were living in, it was by a creek. It was older, and she thought, maybe we should move to a newer place that's clean, and and she was like, let's get away from this haunting and just start over, and that's what we did.
Wow.
But,
do you think this has followed you, or is this just? I mean, because it sounds like it's something that's stuck in your memory banks for a long time. It's this certain place. It sounds pretty big, is what I'm trying to say. It sounds like it's something that's right off your tongue. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild.
It has. It's haunted me probably the last, gosh, I don't even know how long. And it's off and on. If I sit and think about it and dwell on it and invite that in, I don't know. I feel like spirits can really attach themselves, and the way they do it is that they play on your vices, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're prone to depression, you're going to play on that. If you're prone to, I don't know, alcoholism, they're going to play. I just think, people say that the demonic entities and all this stuff doesn't happen, or that it's very rare. I don't think it's the case. I think it happens more often than what people want to believe. I just think it's not to Hollywood. Yeah. I don't think, you're going to see head spinning and beds levitating and stuff like that. I don't think it happens like that.
No, I believe that does happen, but that's rare. But yeah, I mean, honestly, man, sometimes I feel like I've tested fate. I mean, the places I go, I come back sometime and I'm like, fuck, I hope I protected myself, because there's some evil shit that goes down some of these places. You go to serial killers, grave sites, or murder sites. There's some bad mojo there. I got some questions. I got some questions of my own, but I don't want to ignore my chat because they're good people and they try so hard. Nicole at Gaspard joins us. She asked if you plan to write any more books, which you kind of said you actually have one on the way, I guess. So I guess probably just keep it rolling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
So
not?
Dancing with Demons come out in, I'm hoping November. I'm a little behind. James Anito, I don't know if you guys know him or not.
Yes,
He's a
deal with
demonologist.
demonology. Yeah.
Yes, he's writing the foreword to it.
Oh.
So it's gonna be.
Oh fuck, that's good people. James is good people. Fuck, Selene Beanie just had his second son for him there, so to speak. Well, her son too. It's not his. I mean, it's not like she delivered like a pizza. I mean, it's both their kid. But yeah, man, I met him at the Paracon and shit, and he's good people. Hung out with him a little bit, and he's very down to earth. And of course, Carl Johnson he works with is one of the twin brothers that was the first on the Conjuring case before Ed and Lorraine were even on it. So that's some good people there. I got to get to your buddy, Paramigo Brian. I think he might have left chat, which is odd. Maybe he did for a second. I don't see him in there. That sucks. But Paramigo Brian, he had a question. He wanted to know if you had any gifts, any abilities.
He knows this.
Of course he does. Of course he does, but he wants you to spread it because you're very humble, Crystal. You're very much, you love your animals, as people can tell. But you're not very much. That's why I need to get you on here and get you to open up your mouth because you don't really post a super lot. So, what are your gifts, girl? Don't be shy.
It's kind of, I think that I have a lot of medium qualities. I'm not good at reading people though. Like I don't do readings. I suppose I could if I developed that more, but I more see I don't know what it is. It's like I see flashes. If that makes any sense. Like I can go into a house and just see flashes of stuff that's happened there.
Oh, like a flashback from an old sitcom or something. Like a vague, almost like a hazy daydream.
Yes. And then sometimes like I'll see spirits. I'll hear them audibly. But I don't know if I can't read people's energy and all that kind of stuff. Like
but I bet you could feel it. I could see you as someone that could tell if someone's a good person or not. I would think you could read auras to an extent. I bet. No.
Yeah, I probably could. I mean, I could always tell. Well, everybody can. Everybody's got that ability to feel somebody out. But
well, yeah, some do. Some are pretty numb, though.
I guess I just talked to Scott Allen. He's a psychic medium in the Boston area. And he's really good at this. Like he's able to pick up messages for people if they need a message. And, that's kind of stuff I'm really not that good at. Like I guess I could if I focused on it, but, I'm just not good at messages like that. The messages I receive are more from like historical, like when I'm trying to figure out what happened somewhere. I could figure out a haunting, like the house. We just went into a haunted house recently in Jackson, and I'm kind of able to figure out what's going on there. The other thing that happened there too, which I didn't know, the first night I was there, I kept seeing, like they look like miners, but they look like coal miners because they were filthy black. You know what I mean? They had like all this silt around them and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know any of the history of the place. And it turns out that there was a mine there that had caught on fire. And a lot of people. So that's what I was seeing. Another example is Armagosa Hotel. Brian and I went there to investigate. And honestly, when we went there, the night before, I ended up getting I had a dream about the place, and it said, focus on the railroad, don't focus on the opera. And I thought, what in the world are you talking about? See, that's the kind of messages I get. So the next day, there's no railroad anywhere that I saw in sight. I don't know. And honestly, the hotel itself is haunted, but I got more activity from the area around it. Like I saw tents there, like it was like a big giant tent city. So it was like a town there at one time, but it was all tents. and it was all the workers, I guess, from the railroad that was, and it was like one of those, here's the name for it. It's not like an actual railroad. It's just like a little trail of a railroad to move stuff from the mines that was there.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's like the little coal cart to go on it. Fucking.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name. Shit. I know what you're talking about, though. And it's so warm out there. These guys can just set up camp and just lay out there instead of getting a hotel. It's a lot cheaper, and they just pass out right there. No shit.
It gets cold here. It gets cold here, though.
I would see that at night. Brian, glad you're back, Brian. She's answering your question since you didn't know if she had a gift or not, which is a great question. Thank you for asking that. CL, I'm gonna jump around a little bit here. We still got a half hour to go, plenty of time. But I want to have a little bit to get to know you questions for our audience. They always like the fun little shit. Let's change it up a little bit, switch it up, and get a little fun with it. What's your go-to for music? What's your you don't be shy. It doesn't have to be something heavy. Do you like country? You listen to jazz, soul, hip hop?
You know, it's funny. I lived in Nashville for 15 years, and I do not like country. I do not like it. I like bluegrass, though. Like the real deal bluegrass. I had a lot of friends that played bluegrass.
That's soul shit. I like that. Yeah, seriously. That's what Creedence Clearwater is kind of like, bluegrass. I love Creedence.
Oh, I love them, too. I love Led Zeppelin. I've met him a couple times. He lives in Nashville. Robert Plant does.
Wow.
That was probably like...
You met Robert Plant? Hold the phone. Oh, stop. I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. I know that's rude, but you've met Robert Plant?
Yes.
No fucking way, dude. Wow. He bought Aleister Crowley's plane and shit, man. And they're like, Led Zeppelin's the biggest band of like all time. Holy shit, Crystal. Wow. Really? I'm geeking out right now. I love Zeppelin. That's dope.
You know, he's very he's very intelligent and down to earth. He's really fun to talk to.
No shit. Gotta be in his 70s by now, right? 60s, 70s?
Yeah, he's up there. He's really tall.
Wow.
He lives in this red mansion, right? It's not a mansion, but we call it the mansion.
Oh,
it's like a house from the and it's right off of Belmont Boulevard in Nashville.
Wow. And he's a fucking cool ass person. He's not a piece of shit that get out of here. You know who I am? You know, some people are like that. No kidding. All right. So I'm sorry, Zeppelin. You keep going. Sorry.
So yeah, I like music of all kinds. I listen to techno sometimes. I'm just all over the place musically.
That's cool.
It just depends on my mood.
Yep, I love that. Some people just go, you know, they like certain brand, or they say the classic good music, which I didn't know there was a fucking scale, but yeah, I think it depends on the mood for sure. You know, if I'm feeling a little upset, I'll throw on some Metallica or whatever. But if I'm feeling pretty good, I'll throw on some Cypress Hill or whatever. So that's cool. What you go to for movies and stuff? I mean, I know you watch documentaries and I'm type of stuff. But like, if you want to sit down and relax, is there a certain comedy or certain horror movie that you turn on to make you feel better?
You know, movies are the same way. They're all over the place. Lately, I've been watching older movies. You know, the old classics. Like I watched Rosemary's Baby recently.
Oh my god! Yes, the Omen, the original Omen. And Damien, it's all for you. She jumped. Oh my god! Rosemary's Baby. Wow.
I have a story for you too. There is a guy, speaking of the Charles Manson family, one of the guys, well, that's a story for another time. I'm not going to share that one.
Oh, you got to give me a sample. Give me a sample now. I feel like I took a bite of steak and you're pulling the rest away from me. So what, one of his cult members, one of his family, quote unquote?
No, it was a producer that he actually was after that lives in Nashville now.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Wow, you know the fucking ends on a lot of cool shit. Look at you, the quiet one with a coon cat, and you're fucking holding back on me. God damn it. So what about him? Have you met this person?
Yes, I've met him several times. He hangs out at this place called Brown's Diner. He also hangs out at a coffee house. So, but he's one of those people that, you know, I would talk to him, and he would always have these crazy stories. Like I don't want to tell you his name because I don't want to get in trouble with him.
What,
He's
doing
nice.
acid with
He's
the Beach Boys and shit?
Yeah. He, I don't know if you know the story. Like, he sold his best friend's body and burned it in Joshua Tree Forest because his friend, that was his wishes. It was Graham Parsons.
Wow.
And needless to say, he went to jail over it. He ended up meeting Charles Manson, taught him how to play guitar a little bit. He wanted him to produce his record for him, but he didn't feel like his record was, music quality. And he was living in a house just up the street from the Biancas. And it's really weird because Manson went to his house to a party, I think just several months prior to the murders, and he just ended up getting the wrong house. So, but yeah, he thinks that he was after him. He moved to Nashville and he lived there ever since.
Whoa.
But,
wow. That's, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't condone serial killers, but I mean, I'm very intrigued by him. And even though Manson didn't kill anybody, he was definitely a cult leader type personality. And with connections, he wanted to be a Beach Boy. He wanted to be one of the Beach Boys after a while. He started thinking he was as good as them, his idols. And he helped write a strain.
He wanted one of them to produce his album, and all the producers just felt like, he wasn't there yet to produce that.
Yeah.
And then he had, and you see how that went down. But
yeah, yeah, he's lucky he was. Oh boy! Wow. I mean, he's lucky. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He hangs out in Nashville, and every time I would talk to him, he would have this really off the wall story, and I would think, he's just lying. Turns out everything this guy said is true.
Wow.
But that's what around Nashville, you just have all kinds of different music, and
it's a trip. Yeah, it's a trip. We took a road trip with the girl I was with a long time. I think it was 2014. And we drove from Maine to there to go visit her friend for a couple of days. And we spent the night in Gettysburg, my first time there, which is kind of neat in the way. I drove the whole way, Maine to Nashville. Tell you what, and the way back, it's stuck in New York on the Golden Gate Bridge, the whole nine, or the Golden Gate Bridge, the Washington Bridge. And Nashville's pretty tight. I tell you, I'm not a big country fan either. Much respect, and I love Johnny Cash. But what a wild little shoe. Yeah. Wow. So what made you want to move out west? You just said, fuck it, time for a change? I mean, you love to travel. We've already established that. You and me have talked. You love to travel. You want to get an RV, the whole nine. So you just, something called to you out there, or what?
Well, there was a couple of things. So one, Nashville was like one of the few cities that I could continue, having a job with media and all that stuff. I don't know. And I just felt like after that tornado hit, I just felt like, I just lost everything. It's time to rebuild. Where can I go? I was trying to pick a city. I picked Vegas because I had a lot to begin with. Work would be easy to find. And the other thing is, I've always wanted to see the West and all the ghost towns and all that. I've been just fascinated with all the ghost towns. Like, I'd watch Ghost Adventures and think, oh my goodness, that's so cool. I just want to go. Vegas is kind of like everything. I could just get to everything. There's this place called Chaco Canyon, and there's a lot of superstition around this place. It's one of the biggest Native American ruins. It's out here.
Do tell.
But it's just places like that I wanted to see.
Whoa.
I've been all up and down the East Coast except for Maine.
That's where I come into play. I'll have to give you the tour when you come in. Wow. See, that's what I'm on the journey for. And I think that's where you and me are like-minded to that extent. There's a lot like us. I think Brian's one of them too. We look for the ones, of course, Eastern State Penitentiary, of course, Lizzie Borden House, of course, the Winchester House, all these Queen Mary, all these places are great. But there are thousands. I'm not talking hundreds. I'm probably honestly close to over, maybe not 1,000, like 30,000. But there's into the thousands, low thousands of historic / haunted / just places to be seen. And I think that's what you're doing is discovering them. Not everybody knows. My mom stayed, you must have heard of this, maybe if you haven't. I believe it's in Arizona, but the Calico Ghost Town. I think it's in
Yes, I've
Calico.
heard of it.
My mom stayed there with my dad because they were on a road trip from Maine to California, which is where I was conceived. I was 2 months old in California, well, in the belly anyway. And my mom drove back to Maine and had me there. But yeah, man, they spent the night in the ghost town. They had baked beans by the fire, the whole fucking nine, man. I get that from my mom. They went to Colorado, went in a cave, and I think that's what you were doing. And I think Brian even said it. You guys love finding the unknown. You guys love going to road trips and being like, wow, they're the first ones really to do this, right? I mean, it's a trip, you know?
There's just always something to see. It floors me that, or it kind of saddens me that a lot of the paranormal shows, they continue to just go to the same places all the time. We've got a whole world out here.
Yeah, it gets old.
So much. But
then you got certain places that get all this money and shit, and then there's other places that are falling apart that could use a couple bucks, and they just rot away.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So out west, you must be. So let me guess, you're a Jesse James girl, or a Wyatt Earp, or a fucking Bonnie and Clyde girl, right? You must be being out there.
Okay, so Bonnie and Clyde car is out. That's really interesting to see.
What is it? I'm sorry. What is
Bonnie and Clyde's car? Is here.
Oh, that's in Vegas. That's right. The bullet holes in the whole nine, huh? And their shirts, yeah. I think. Oh, CL. That's Calico is right in Barstow, California. Never ghost hunted there. Lots of fun. Yeah, Paramigo Brian. Oh, what a sweetheart. He's a good dude. I tell you what, a lot of people that are on this show don't tune in during the week or my podcast or whatever. Nathaniel Elwell and Brian are usually right up there, and I appreciate you, Brian. And he thinks the world of CL. That's they do small town adventures paranormal together. Brian does Paramigos, and of course she does her podcast as well. We're talking to author Crystal CL Thomas, established author, podcast host, investigator, researcher, traveler, I guess, explorer of sorts. You have any YouTube channel or anything like that you want to share? Instagram, YouTube type stuff, Twitter, TikTok, whatever.
You know, it's funny because Brian keeps telling me to start making videos of the places I go to. I'm going to start posting more. I do have a channel. It's under CL Thomas, but there's not a whole lot on there. I've been posting some of the interviews that I've had and just little snippets of some of the I always get a lot of EVPs everywhere I go, so I've been posting those a lot. But yeah, Brian's always on my case about, you need to start making these little videos.
Well, my girl Heather was kind of the same way, and even my friends had told me, you got all these adventures. I still got about 80 videos from the past 5 years. I still got to upload because I don't know, man. I guess we get down on ourselves sometime and we think, who gives a fuck, right? Why should I do it? No one cares. Why should I? And then you kind of deprive yourself of that. And you deprive other people. Then you kick yourself in the ass and go, I forgot who the fuck I am. I'm CL motherfucking Thomas. I got to post shit. And it's getting up there. And I want to, actually, now that I brought up my girl, Witch and Heather Kiminiti, who's a big fan of all that type of stuff we're talking about. She's got her show, Witch and Life Guide show every other Wednesday here. She's coming back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. here on Paranormal King Radio Network. She does a lot of grounding. She goes to the beach a lot, walks barefoot in the ocean. We'll go in the woods and she'll just sit there and absorb, touch the leaves. Does that any stuff occur to roll with you? It seems like it would. Do you lose yourself in the moment, ground yourself, burn sage, have jewels and rocks, things like that?
I do. And I'm also pretty good at if someone needs their house cleaned out, I'm pretty good at that too.
No shit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You try to get the feng shui or the flow moving, so to speak, maybe.
Yeah. So it's more of like, so if you ever did any research on Gerald Garner, he's the guy who actually started back in the 1930s. So if you do a lot of research on this, meditation is actually a really great way to channel energy and to learn how to use that energy for healings and Reiki and all kinds of different stuff. I used a program called the Monroe Institute Gateway program. It really taught me a whole lot about how to channel energy, how to do remote viewing, all of that. Long story short, I started studying Gerald Garner, and he's one of the founders of Wicca. And he had like a whole coven that he had. I think there was it was pretty large, at least 30 or more people in this thing. And when Hitler was going to invade England, what he did was he got everybody together and they did like this whole ritual meditation thing to form a cone. It's like a psychic cone. He formed this cone to stop Hitler's army from invading England. And what they were preaching for hours straight was, you cannot cross the sea. You cannot cross the sea. And they were envisioning a white wall, like a fortress.
A white force field. Oh, like a force field of a glow. Just like, oh, man. I'm sorry. I'm envisioning it with my head and I'm just getting pumped.
It actually worked. And if you use this method to clean out your space, it actually works.
Wow.
You know, they say that when two or more people pray, it's because of that energy field that you're building. So I don't really, sage and candles, you don't really need that. It can set like the groundwork and the mood and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, you really don't need that. You just need to use your own energy.
Yep.
And your own focus.
I love that. Mind over matter. You feel like shit and you're like, fuck this shit. You trug through
right.
it. Life's a bitch. Yeah, life can be a bitch. We don't get paid in this field. At least most of us don't. The good ones don't, in my opinion. Because you were saying earlier about the shows. The shows are a lot of bullshit hype and a little pump and pump. But I call paranormal investigating or like fishing. You can go 13 times and never see nothing. That 14th time, you'll get a bite. You know what I'm saying? And to me,
right.
Yeah, and to me, the thrill is all about, like with you, win or lose, no ghost or ghost. I'm going to a historical landmark or a landmark a lot of people don't go to. Everybody else is hanging out at the fucking sanatorium in Ohio, whatever the fuck. I'm at the Cannonball Museum or whatever. I don't know, man. I love, okay, check this out. And it's not about me. It's your show. But I want to say one thing that I went to that still sticks out. And I always say it and everybody goes, whoa. I went to the Tombstone House in Richmond, Arizona. And it's 32,000 Union soldier tombstones from the Civil War. And they made a house out of their slates. And it's still there. The walkway, the fucking fire. And the girl let me touch it all and see it. I got a video of it. And it's the only one in the world, man. And that's pretty wild, man. I posted that. You know how many fucking people go, wow, that exists? And that's a turn on to me more than going, yeah, I went to here again. Because how much energy and bad mojo and just bullshit doors that people, am I right, though? You must go into places and get headaches sometime, right?
Oh, yeah. I feel like, too, when you're investigating the same places like that over and over, after a while, I feel like everybody else's energy kind of gets in there, and it's no longer the original haunting that it once was, if that makes sense.
It's tainted. Yeah, you're right. I agree.
For an example of that, I got two examples of that. One of them, I stayed the night in the Bell Witch Cave in Tennessee. We heard like little noises and things, but that's it. There wasn't really anything there, and I feel like everyone goes there and kind of creates that haunting. Everyone goes there expecting a witch or whatever, Native American curse. They're always blaming Native Americans for this stuff, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, especially New England. Oh, it's Native American. Oh, it's the Wendigo. Oh, it's the witch. Oh yes, it's a cricket asshole. When you expect too much, Zach Baggins, come on now. Yeah, I know it taints the field, CL. And that's why you and me aren't investigators. We're different. We're historian researchers. Heather's a natural witch. We have a fine line. We're not the Axe cologne spraying, 15 necklaces, pizza ordering, cross t-shirt wearing fucking investigators. We're just not. No knock to them. So what's one of your... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to talk about Robert Goodall real quick, too, on that same topic.
Oh, St. Augustine, Florida. Yes.
I was working in Miami when that Hurricane Dorian was coming.
Ooh.
And so they shut down the airport. the whole deal. All the roads were closed, trying to get back to Nashville. I couldn't get out. And that hurricane was slated to hit Miami area. And so I decided I'm going to drive down to Key West and go stay at my friend's house for a while. She lives in a little house right outside of, it's on the same property as, I forget the author's name, the house with all the cats, Hemingway's house. Hemingway. But so I rented a car and I drove down, and they ended up evacuating Key West, and so there's no tourists. I'm there by myself. You know, somebody came and boarded up all the windows in the house and everything. Well, the storm, of course, it went by, and all it did was flood everything. So I actually got stuck in Key West for probably 2 weeks because of the surges that came through. But I called the museum. There was actually somebody at the museum that houses Robert the Doll. And I said, "Hey, are you open?" And she said, "No, but you can."
Oh my God!
Half the building's flooded. No one's in there. And she goes, "Oh yeah, go ahead, go say hi to Robert. Calm down, you know."
Oh, shut up!
I didn't get any. Oh no, I didn't get anything from the doll. It was everything from the building.
Really?
So I wonder. I started researching that too, and it turns out, I think the story is they say that this doll came from a nanny or something that was given to Robert.
There's a couple stories. The one I fancy is it's a German doll maker, and he made it for his son, and his son named it after himself. His name was Robert, and he named it Robert, and he tragically died of like influenza or something like that. And they say he was trapped in a demonic, and it's all pitted, and they say it's from like 1865. It's older than Annabelle, even the story itself. Excuse me. And St. Augustine, as you know, they say it's older than Plymouth Rock. They say St. Augustine, Florida was discovered by Columbus and then before Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock 1620. They say it's 1613 is St. Augustine, not to mention Vikings. Oh, no shit. And St. Augustine Lighthouse, of course, is all haunted. But Robert the fucking Doll, man, there's 3 movies about him, and I got them all. They're not cheesy. They're kind of cool, but it's the only Robert the Doll movies I saw. I got them for $5 a piece. I had to buy all 3. Are you fucking kidding me? Brand new. That's dope. You know that, though. A lot of people only know Annabelle. Now everybody and their brother is going to haunt it. I got a haunted doll. Okay. Sure you do. And it's right next to your kid's crib. Okay, it is. Keep fucking dreaming, you card artist. But Annabelle's right up there. You dig that, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I haven't seen I haven't seen Anna the Doll or any of that. But Robert the Doll.
Oh,
somebody asked me if
you asked permission first?
Huh?
You have to ask permission first from him. Can I take a picture of Robert? Otherwise, he'll curse you. And I've seen there's letters of people that have not asked permission and have been cursed and write back saying sorry to him. That's fucking awesome.
So, you know what? I've taken his picture and I've actually sold that image off of my website. It sells out every time I print. They sell out pretty quick, and nobody's returning them or anything. So I don't know.
Well, please send me one in Messenger. I'd love to see that.
Yes.
King actually write that. Did you ask Robert if he can take a picture? So King is Ross. That's our boss when we talk to. He actually says Chucky is Robert the Doll. Basically, yes, the movie Child's Play was based off Robert. Chucky technically is Robert, but with red hair, of course. The real Annabelle looks different from the movie Annabelle. But Chucky is loosely based off Robert the fucking Doll. When there's no fucking. But yeah, that's killer that you know that. You little deep shit. Okay. We got 5 minutes, but we're gonna go a little bit over because we can, if you don't mind, because I got so many more questions to fucking ask you now that we're rolling. So yeah, I feel like you and Heather would get along. You guys are definitely into the same thing. You don't really take shit. You kind of stay grounded. You believe in yourself, and you guys kind of keep to yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't need 5 million friends. I have 211 friends on Facebook, and anytime someone starts acting a fool, they get fucking cut. I'm sorry, man. Life's too short, and I've never had a problem with you or Brian or even Betsy, even though she didn't chime in tonight. So I'm gonna ask you some good questions. Ones I usually ask everybody, and I'm really interested to ask you. I guess as far as America goes, what's your bucket list? There's going to be what, Hawaii, Alaska, and Maine that's left?
You need to go investigate?
In general, Just to go? Is it like a? Would you like to see Stephen King's house in Maine? Would you like to see maybe Plymouth Rock in Plymouth? Wow, my sensor, my hallway keeps going off. My pumpkin head sensor. I wonder if there's a ghost in here. But anyway, so what's your bucket list as far as like just in general? Investigation, visit, hang out, have a beer.
Oh gosh, there's just so many places to see out there.
In America that you haven't been to, have you been to Gettysburg, and you've also been to New Orleans and shit, right? Salem.
Yes, I love New Orleans. I love New Orleans. That's one of my favorite cities.
Fucking voodoo, man.
I have not been to Seattle yet. I haven't been to a lot of the northern West Coast places.
Is there a trademark though? Like the Alamo, the Queen Mary, Stephen King's house, Gettysburg, is Battlefield. Is there like a certain location that you would love to see?
I haven't seen the Queen Mary at all.
Okay, you can give me a couple. I don't want to put you on the hot seat. But I mean,
Alcatraz is one of them.
Yep.
Chaco Canyon is one. It's supposed to be really haunted. There's a lot of lore around that one. I wanted to spend a night there. Gosh, there's so many places to talk about. Some places that I are going to next month. We're actually doing Vulture City. I haven't been there yet.
Oh, a Vulture City. That's New Mexico or Arizona? Arizona, Vulture City. They do a Paracon every year. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that, because honestly, we could talk all day. You probably get 4 or 5 places per state that you want to go. You're like me. I've been to maybe 10 places per state, but there's still another 30 I want to go to. My bucket list is a mile long. So let's talk about what the future holds for you. We're talking about Vulture City, which is a killer name, and it's a wild place, I hear.
So Brian and I are actually vendors at that one. So we're going to go. It's probably our first paranormal convention that we're vending at. So I'm not really sure what happens or what to expect. I know Brian's going to sell some of his candles and things like that. I guess I'm going to sell my book. I really have no idea what I'm promoting. I guess the podcast. I don't know.
I would really love a signed copy of your book. I just don't know if you could mail it to me. I'll definitely PayPal you or the money or whatever you'd like. If you could, like, definitely. I'm not a big digital guy. I'm old school. I like hard copies. I like them signed. That's what I do when I meet people. I get DVDs and books and shit signed. So I don't know if you'd ever come up to New England. I can meet you in person. But if not, I'd love to at least buy your book and have you sign it to me. We can always message about that later, though. Where can people get your book, actually, besides messaging you? Is it on Amazon and shit like that?
It is. It's on Amazon. It's at Borders or Barnes and Noble. It's at a couple of shops. I know they're in all the paranormal shops around Vegas. They're in England in another bookshop there.
Wow.
They're actually being sold. Yeah, actually more copies are selling in England than in America. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, English people love that shit. They love metal and ghosts. England people are cool shit. And beer. Wow. Yeah. You're in England, ZL. That's fucking amazing, dude. Wow. Good for you.
I have some really great friends that live in England, and they have this building that they have this whole spiritual metaphysical shop that they're running out of. The building is a Tudor building.
Is a what? I'm sorry, I had to cough.
It's a Tudor building. It's like 14th century.
Wow.
And you can go right now and look at their shop. There's a live cam. And I swear, every time I look at it, every night you hear like footsteps, you hear talking, you hear all kinds of stuff. And it's a live feed every night.
I'm going to look that up tonight, because I love live feeds from these places. I mean, America, we brag about 1620, 1630 in New England, which is old. But you go to Europe, and they got 13, 14, 1200s and shit. They got like the Ireland's like, fuck you, America. Wow. It seems like you were born for that. You were definitely born in the wrong era. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's old school cobblestones and shit. So is that your bucket list overseas? Is to go, like, what's your bucket list overseas? I mean, because technically you're going like Romania, which she
I
couldn't
haven't
take that
seen
off.
that. Well, yeah, Romania that's on the bucket list. I definitely want to see Egypt. I haven't been to England yet. I want to go to my friend's shop over there and investigate. That's on my bucket list.
Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah. So I want to go to Italy. There's a lot of, Italy. There's a lot of hauntings in Italy. I think there's a lot of folklore and stuff around that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to call up the.
Wait, you got CB going on? The cops are coming to get you? Just kidding.
No.
Sounds like, yeah, we got a 10-4 there, Johnny. You know what's funny? I'm about Heather gives me shit. I always say I'm half Italian, but I'm like 38% Italian. She's more than me. She's whatever. But anyway, both of our families are from Calabria, which is right at the edge of the boot, which is right by the island where the vampires are, which we're all buried with bricks in their mouths. I know you know about that. Vampire shit. Italy's got some wild shit, yo.
So I just posted on YouTube the live feed of her shop. Go and check that out. You guys can find it so interesting.
I definitely will. Ross said we can go a little bit over. We got a couple minutes if you don't mind, because I want to get you a couple personal questions. I'm definitely going to have you back on. I'm kind of booked until season 1's done on Halloween. And then I'm coming back before Christmas. So I'd love to have you and Brian back on the vodcast, and maybe even have both you guys on the radio show at some point. And of course, I'm going to be on your show. When the hell is that? Is that next Sunday or this Sunday? I forget.
That's this Sunday.
Oh, shit. That's 9 my time, right? 9 p.m. Eastern?
Yeah.
Okay. Shit. Sorry. I knew it was. I thought it was next week for some stupid reason. I smoke a lot of weed.
We can make it next week if that works better for you.
No, I don't care. No. I just didn't know. No, I'm good. I'm good. I got nothing going on. Oh man, I had another question for you. Oh, go ahead. What?
Brian says, ask who she wants to communicate with on a spirit box. I don't know if we could talk about that, Brian.
Oh, yes, you're in chat. Yeah, of course we can. Well, who you came up with was crazy. Don't tell me it was fucking Hitler or Gandhi or something, or Jesus Christ himself. Who'd you want to talk to in chat, CL? I need to hear it now.
You kind of guessed it. So, 2 things. I'm looking for a guest on Small Town Tales to talk about the Nazis and the occult, because they were very big into the occult.
Yeah.
They have back teams to go search for relics and stuff to try to, and they were doing research on remote viewing and the whole deal.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as I can talk about that. The other thing is, Brian and I were sitting at National Hotel in Jackson, California, and we started talking about, the whole religion thing versus, ghost hunting. It seems like, if you're a ghost hunter, it seems like if you're a Christian, you think that ghost hunting is demonic and all this kind of stuff. But yet, when Christians pray, they're praying to Jesus Christ, to the Spirit, right?
Yeah.
So why couldn't you contact Jesus Christ through the Spirit box?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because you make 100% fucking sense, and they don't want to admit that. Oh, it's true. I walked into Kennebunk Monastery in Kennebunk, Maine. There's a monastery there as a reverend, and you can buy holy water. And that's where I get my holy water. It's where I re-up. He's my dealer, and it's blessed the whole 9. I go, all right, another bottle for ghost hunting. And he looked at me like I was the devil himself. Like he wouldn't want to know any part of what I was doing. And I'm like, dude, you're part of my army. Like, shouldn't you be happy? But no, he didn't like that one fucking iota. And Jesus Christ himself is a zombie. He rose from the fucking dead, dude. Like you say, It's okay to look up at the sky and fold your hands and pray to God. But God forbid I talk to my dead mom. Then I'm an asshole. But my friend told me, you can't cry every day about your mom, dude. I go, fuck you. I blocked him and he's out of my life now. No one tells me what to believe and think, and that's not the God I chose. My God's different than that. My God doesn't care if you're black or white or gay. My God doesn't care that. That's the difference. That's the difference.
Exactly.
And that's what I believe, and no one's going to take that from me, CL. And you know what I mean?
And as a medium, you kind of get a lot of flack from a lot of people about, oh, well, you're talking to demons and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But then the Bible's full of stories of mediumship. You look at King David, you look at, Moses even. They're all doing it. So
The Ten Commandments were from hearsay, right? Moses wrote them because he heard Christ, and that's thou shalt not kill. It's true. You're a modern day witch. Heather's a modern day witch. Girls like you, guys too, but mostly girls because that's the stigmata. That's the sexualism.
right. You know, you can trace that stigmata goes all the way back to the witch trials in England, even before the American witch trials. It was all the women were the ones with the demonic entities and all that, not the men.
Hello, this is Adam Began, and I'm the host of Historically Haunted Show, where I talk about some very rare historical and haunted locations that I visited. I also interview some of the very best in the paranormal and cryptozoology field. So tune in every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Paranormal King Radio Network, and prepare to be educated about the unknown.